Welcome, everyone. This is Nichelle Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Nichelle Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today for this particular week of the month of December, where I decided to do a special release focusing on shorts of a short stories. And this is where I'm just basically releasing the full short because it is a shorter version of my usually clip notes. And I'm just doing it for the month of December. So you get the full release because of the length of the content, and you get, new information. Some of the characters where I left off, either from season 1, they are reappearing this month. And some new characters that I'm bringing forth that is part of the book that MOLIAE is focused on, that you get to get a glimpse during this time frame. Again, this time frame of my podcast right here is when it's before the birth of Princess Aamina. The book Mitsrayim is during the time where Princess Aamina, after she's born and she's about to be a ruler, the ruler of Mitsrayim, and has to choose between the two kings, but it's a lot of other things that's going on. And doing this podcast is before that time. Some people basically was already on the scene, okay? And this gives you a way to get connected with MOLIAE. MOLIAE was the first manuscript that I ever wrote and really opened the doors for me to pursue my writing that led me to now in 2018. So with that done and said, I like to open up my show giving a brief bio of that and moving forward for those that's starting to tune into my podcast show. So this is a premium podcast. I'm connected to Patreon. If you want to become a patron of this page, there's a link in the description area of this episode of this podcast, and it will take you to the Patreon page. And with that, you get access to the full short stories, especially when I'm only doing clip snippets of it, and I'm not doing the full release of a short. Okay, now this right here is based on MOLIAE. It's based on my book Mitsrayim, a memoir. It is now a theatrical production, and it evolved into from a stage play, webisode, a short film, and now a podcast show. Okay, and that MOLIAE is the acronym for Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt. That is basically theatrical name that I came up with from my book Mitsrayim. So currently the MOLIAE production is in prep phase for the prestige return of MOLIAE stage play. And again, like I like to say, once I get to that point, because it's a lot of elements I'm trying to do that will be tied to the stage play. Previous experience has taught me that once you go live and announce your dates, it's everybody that you can imagine coming from different avenues, and they want the content, and it's just a very heightened type exposure when you put on a play, especially in the city that I'm currently in, to come back for the third time. So going through that experience, I know to make sure I have all my ducks in a row. And plus, this would be a bigger production. Instead of the 5 main characters from the book, Princess Aamina, the 2 kings, her 2 friends, Nahar and Sama, it would be other characters, some of the characters that you're learning about here in the podcast, and some from the book. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started for the highlights. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're doing the highlights. This will be for episode 41, entitled King Mahlon Reign Supreme in the Sudan. Now, last week we focused on my director clip notes. So in this particular short, focusing on King Mahlon, and he's making his entrance in the commune. Now, in last season 1, I talked about the Congeto, councils of Congeto members, which was deep in the south, and that's where Natu, before he did his next move against Echo, went to go see these tribal leaders, which is a higher level of authority in the Sudan. And again, when I say the Sudan, I'm talking about the whole continent of Africa, okay? And so those members are in this other place where everybody come and meet. There's of authority of certain land and territories. And King Mahlon make his entrance, because remember, coming back in season 2, he just removed Echo, and then he returned back to Mitsrayim to make his announcement in front of his people, coming back to the throne. And then there was a second ceremony there where you have his lineage from, if you get that point, for certain dignitaries and certain people from his family and from Pleiadians to do the spiritual of Akun, in that sense of him spiritually being reconnected to the force, in the sense of being ruler of Mitsrayim, because that has some very deep roots from Samnar. And now the third is basically him coming to where he would have been the previous Apsu. Sometimes I say Apsu in the sun or the year, but anyhow. So that's what we're going to focus on today. And again, last week, check out that director clip notes is for episode 34, 35, and 36. And that talks about 34, Mighty One Revealed Among Many. And then episode 35, In Allegiance Bestowals with Lanko. And episode 36, Orion Skies, There Is Always Others. So go ahead and check that episode out last week. Let's go ahead and start for this week episode and get it started, okay? All right, so let's begin. For this week of my season 2 podcast show, Nichelle Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond, for episode 41, entitled King Mahlon Reign Supreme in the Sudan. Opening scene. Deep in the southern region of the land that would be known in future generations, the Congo, the Sudan commune of rulers attended the 360 of Apsu commune to discuss the events of the past, present, and future. As word spread that King Mahlon had returned to his throne of rulership in Mitsrayim, there was a lot of distractions and expectancy that in the near future many would have be found out, for a lot of them discarded their loyalty to Mitsrayim and for themselves. That they did not follow at their last Sudan commune talks. Instead, there were many against King Mahlon and his supporters. As most of the rulers felt somewhat at ease without the presence of King Mahlon till that fateful time, we see Otun of the Western Tribal Leaders Council and Senel, a known adversary of Mitsrayim, in particular King Mahlon, as they were seated far from each other, but they felt their hidden allegiance together still strong, as the last message from the two formulated well to their capture of the general. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the Sudan commune rulers, there are over 250 Mitsrayim soldiers, along with the General Dachar and King Mahlon. They met up with King Kohan, the current ruler of Sabatre, a good old friend of King Mahlon. King Kohan had his army as well to add in more support for King Mahlon as he was about to make his surprise presence at the commune. King Kohan wanted his stepson to witness how rulers stand tall amongst those that resist the power of the king. King Kohan spoke with wisdom and pride to his good friend Mahlon. And this is my stepson, Daniy'el of Kodesh. He is mighty in skill of combat and thought. King Mahlon nodded. I see. Both would do you well when you become a ruler. And I have heard you will gain a new brother or sister, for your mother is expecting a new in her soon. Daniy'el nodded, smiling boldly, and then he spoke. Indeed, I will be ready for him or her to help, and I have been learning all of the mystics and of the Etherian order. I am ready. Both kings laughed at Daniy'el's boldness. King Mahlon spoke first. What is your age of Apsu to have spoken before the watchers accede? Daniy'el, 8 of the Apsu Yuans. King Mahlon spoke. Then so shall it be. Place a hand on the young boy's shoulder before walking forward as to approach the entrance to the Sudan commune. Within moments, King Mahlon entered, quarter of his war guards inside, and King Kohan standing not too far to the side of Mahlon, along with Daniy'el, observing the awe of rulership, of power, and the domain. Everyone gasped and chattered to a slow, disturbed, and worrisome silence. King Mahlon walked alone at the moment to stand in the middle of the commune as he turned around in a complete 360 circle to look at the many faces of rulers. Finally, he spoke as he felt their fear engulf them. In this day, my name would be known farther from this realm on Tamat. For many here were a part of the war against Mitsrayim, and one by one, it will be your demise for the betrayal. End scene.